Hey, good morning. I'm Jeremy. Why don't you come along and join me on my journey today? So this was the Princess Auto 18-inch metal brake for 18 gauge steel. I have 18 gauge steel, and this is the metal brake. Yeah, it didn't hold up too well. This little bar, you lay your steel in here where you want the bend at the joint. So this will be laying flat. You lay your joint or where you want to bend it right on this joint. Then you clamp this guy down, and then once this is firmly in place, you grab both handles, you bend it up into about a 90 degree. It'll allow you to go a little bit farther, but anyway, as you can see, handles bend very easily. I was even holding it down here so that it wouldn't bend. And the back plate's got a warp in it already. Anyway, it's just made out of like 3/16 aluminum. Well, sorry, that's 3/16. This is 1/8. So the actual bending part is thin. The top bar is a little thicker. Anyway, definitely don't recommend buying that. Pretty much, I don't really recommend buying anything from Princess Auto, but I still end up buying stuff from Princess Auto. But that is going to give me a good description or a build for mine. I'm going to build one right across here. And I happen to have a whole lot of this 2-inch angle iron kicking around. I think it's about 40 inches long. I'm going to make a 30-inch wide brake, and so I can do my 24-inch panels no problem. I usually don't use any steel over that. I'm going to lay out some pieces and get this metal brake built so I can lay out my stove. I'm really excited to get that put together. It's probably going to take me longer to build the metal brake than it would to make the stove. But I know I'll use the metal brake eventually again, pretty often actually. I called the steel shop to see how much they charge, and they said they charge $40 a bend. So that makes my stove at $160 without material, and it's about $40 a sheet, so $200 to bend one sheet into a box. I think I'll spend some time and make a metal brake that I'll use in the future. Anyway, I'm gonna get doing some layout. First, I cut 2 pieces at 30 inches. 1 and 2. Next, cut 2 pieces at 3.5 inches. These pieces are going to be this piece that gets attached to the back flange. They are going to go... How am I going to do this? This is going to get welded flush on this side with the 1-inch overhang on this side. So there's going to be a bolt going through right here at the joint. And just a correction from earlier, this is 2.5 inch angle iron. I think I said 2 or 3 inch, but it's 2.5. So these pieces are just 1 inch longer than your nominal piece. That way you have enough room for like a 1/2 inch bolt, or bigger, and still have some meat. Next, cut 4 pieces at 3.5 inches long. In your 3.5 inch pieces, you're going to cut a 1/2 inch hole 3/4 from the side and 1 inch from the end. You're also going to need some 1/2 inch ready rod, and I have some lock nuts. What's going to happen with these is, I can do this, This rod is going to be going through here and welded on the face and grinded smooth, or ground smooth, good old English. But it's going to be making a hinge. So one of the pieces is going to be vertical, one piece is going to be horizontal. The vertical piece, the rod is going to get welded flush on this side. That's where the joint is actually going to be of the two pieces. But we're going to be feeding it through, welding that side, and then the nut. We're going to have a nut on this side. So what's going to happen is this is our new pivot point. The center of this rod is going to be the center of these two pieces here. This one that's like this, it's going to be dead center on the rod. You'll need two pieces of your ready rod. I cut them at 2 inches. It's going to be enough to go through both layers of steel and the nut, and then still have some. I might, yeah, if need be at the end, I can cut that off, but I just want to make sure I have more than enough. One thing to double check is make sure your nut is actually going to screw onto the ends. I already polished it up on my grinder, but if you just cut straight through without beveling the ends, your nut might not necessarily go on. It's a lot easier to do it right now before you weld it in, because you're going to weld this in and you're not going to be able to get a grinder in to fix that up later. Weld your ready rod to the back side and then grind smooth. We have both these welded up, the ready rod welded into the hole, only on this side, and I just finished grinding the back side out. After you weld this in, you're going to have a lump on the back, and then you're going to need to grind it down. When you grind it down, you should not see an outline of the hole. If you do, your weld wasn't very good. So as you can see, that you cannot see a circle at all where that ready rod is. If you do, weld it again, or grind it nice and smooth and weld it again. There is a little pit right there in the middle, but it's not anything to be concerned about. You can't see the ridge of the hole anywhere. Make sure this side's nice and smooth. If you get any slag, I did put a tack weld up here, and then I just used the edge of the grinder to clean that up, and I got to fix up the threads a little bit there. This one's fine, just as long as it's smooth, because the this is going to go on there like that, and then the nut is going to go onto there. So just as long as the threads where the nut's going to go is good, and this slides all the way down flat, which it's stuck at the moment, but it'll go down. I might have to just clean that up a little bit better. Anyway, next step is coming up. Once you've got your bolts welded in, shit. Once you've welded your stud on and tightened up the nut, it should look something like that. And it should move very freely. I used my impact gun with a 3/4 inch socket and tightened it up all the way. And then when you tighten it up, you'll also find out if your weld was any good. If you see any lines on the back around your weld, turn up the temperature on your welder and grind that down nice and smooth first. Turn the temperature up a little bit high and make sure that weld burns down into that into the steel and bonds those two together. But after you tighten it up all the way, and then back it off just ever so slightly so there's no wiggle, but it has to be able to be a good hinge. Now, to set up and lay out for the hinges on the end of this. And actually, one other thing I'm going to need to do is this is going to be on here, but I need to add a piece of plate here, the same thickness, and I need to put a piece of plate on the bottom of this so that I have a foot to bolt down to. So I'm going to weld those on before I weld all this together. On the bottom of our hinge, I added a plate and I welded it top and bottom, drilled a 1/2 inch hole so I can put a lag bolt or a through bolt through that into the worktop later. And then I've also welded that on, it's only welded to this piece, not this piece. And same at that end. And this guy is going to go on here, but I still need to cut a piece to go in here because this gets welded onto here. So that's what I'm going to work on now. I just got to cut a little sliver of a piece, and I might have to round this corner off a little bit so that it pivots up and over, so it can go kind of like that. It makes that noise and everything. Anyway. I welded these little tabs on each side. I had to cut a radius into this other piece. And I don't really need a nut on this at all now, because once I do that over here, it can't go anywhere. This one I cut up higher, and it'll allow me to go past 90 degrees. This one will basically stop at 90 degrees, so I might end up cutting that back later. It's going to be kind of difficult to do, but it's already welded, so yeah. If I really need to, I'll cut it back later. Even if I just cut it at a 45, then that will allow that edge. If you see, it stops like that, which is just over 90 degrees. But yeah, if I cut this off at a 45, I'll be able to go farther. As you can see, this side's got plenty of room. I don't know why I did that, but I did. Anyway, it's working pretty good. I had to re-drill some holes though. My original hole was that one over there, and unfortunately that lines up with the bolt, and I could cut the bolt somehow, but all I did was re-drill a hole there so I can just go straight down. Same on this side. You can't see it. There you go. I re-drilled the hole so it's not right under the bolt. But yeah, definitely could just cut the bolt off, but I didn't want to. So right now I'm trying to look around the shop, find what I could weld on for handles. This is the last step. But right now it's working as a nice metal brake. Well, I found some material for my handles. It was actually some of the 1-inch tubing I had left over from doing the drawer slides. I had a 30-inch piece, so I cut it in half, and now I have some handles. So I think it's ready to go. I'm not too worried about the looks of, say, like that weld there. I don't really care. It's functional. I just need to find a couple lag bolts, bolt it down, and give her a try. Looking forward to it. Tomorrow I can build my my little camp stove. have it. Got one bolt there, one bolt there. I need to make some room. Nope, it goes down. So there we go. One thing I need to do still is cut one more piece of angle iron, just a little bit shy of 30 inches, to replicate this guy. So you clamp down the, I'll still have to clamp down the angle iron onto here. Or I'll see tomorrow if I have a piece of flat bar out in my pile. Some heavy gauge flat bar. This definitely won't. I could use the angle iron. This is a smaller piece, but I could use it if I'm only doing 90 degrees. It'd be fine. But a lot of times I go past 90 just a bit, so that when you release it, the spring tension brings it out to 90. I could do something like this, just turn it around this way, and my C-clamp will go over top of that, no problem. So I might just still use a piece of angle iron. That one, not this one. This is the 2.5, and there goes a 5. Anyway, that might be a tomorrow problem, but I'm very happy with. It's extremely, well, not extremely. It probably weighs about somewhere 30-35 pounds, the whole thing now. But I'm much more confident in this one than that little guy over there. And I'm only bending 18 gauge steel. This sheet, this little stuff. And so I'm pretty sure this guy is gonna just crush that tomorrow. Alright, there's no way I can go to bed after building something like this and not trying it. I might end up kicking myself later for just using up my piece of steel, but I have to try it. So, this is how it works. Put it in. Very good. I grabbed two 4-inch C-clamps. Make sure it's nice and square. Normally I just have my measurement on there, but I'm just trying to bend over an inch with nothing in particular planned. I like to put my clamps right inside the edge of the steel, the plate or sheet. It's not a plate, it's just a little sheet. And I'm lining the this top angle iron up so it's nice and flush. Basically, so this edge is over the center edge. Get these nice and snug. And then just like that. Like butter. Check that out. That's a nice 90. I am happy with my metal brake. That was about 3 hours of work, but well worth it. Now the Princess Auto one can become scrap aluminum for some other project. Anyway, I like it. Now, there we go. I didn't get to work on the van today, but I got to do a metal project, and well, I like working with metal. I like working with wood, but and I like mechanics. So, but this metal brake, I'm happy I made it. Yeah, I don't think you know how, I can't really express how happy I am that it works so nice and that I made it. I could probably just stay out here all night and keep bending squares or tubes out of scrap steel. I almost want to cut that exhaust tube I made for my heater back out of the van and redo it, but no, I'm not going to. But now I'm really fired up. Tomorrow I can work on my camp stove, firebox for our winter camping trip in a couple of weeks, and yeah, I'm actually looking forward to doing that tomorrow. I might have to pick up a little bit more steel, but I've got the full sheet, and that's going to get bent into a 12-inch square tube basically, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So until tomorrow, good morning wherever you are.